it, eh?
The 33. You know, this thing is quite the sentimental piece of metal to me. It's my first real project car. But the thing's had a rough life, with the engine previously being destroyed by a negligent qualified mechanic. Legend! It was now back with a fresh RB25 motor, some solid mods, some love, and has now been successfully ran in on its first tune at 280 rear wheel kilowatt on E85. Although, the journey has only just begun. This thing's still dusty as all hell, and got plenty of things that need to be changed and fixed before I'm satisfied, or before it can even hit the streets legally. On second thoughts, it just got tuned. Fuck waiting that long, I'm taking it out for a spin right now. Alright, let's go. Alright lads, first drive.
Let's give it some fucking beans.
Let's go. Fuck it, I'll go. That's mental. Fucking mental. Launch control, but that's for another day. Alright, that felt skids. Anyways, back to Chris's. It's time to get to work. Operation Get 33 legally ready for the road. To begin, wiring up the fuel pump relay mod. I can barely wire things up in Rust, let alone real life, but luckily I got Chris here to learn from. You gotta start somewhere, don't you? First we're gonna take the boot off for some ease of access, and as we get into the fuel tank, the first thing we see is leaking fuel lines. So it seems like these aren't E85 proof or something, because they're fucked. So we're gonna have to replace those. Eventually, after smacking the shit out of this lid, we got it off. So there's the fuel pump, and this is what we're wiring here. So the first thing we're going to do is modify the fuel tank cap and install some new terminals. These will withstand E85, which is very fucking important. Chris then did a bunch of wiring, running those new lines to the terminals, and so on. While he did that, I squeezed some titties, and eventually the wiring was done. Then we mounted the fuse box and relay into position. The good thing about having this relay mod is it'll be a clean, consistent power straight to the fuel pump. Then Chris whacked it all back together. Or whacked himself off, I can't tell. And just like that, 6 hours have passed. Next was an easy one, just reloading the air filter with some new foam. As you can see, the old one is quite munted. It's missing pieces of foam which probably just went straight into the engine or some shit, I don't know where it goes. But the new one looks much better. So we're going to do a full service to this car as well. To begin, a brake and clutch fluid flush, This shit was dirty as fuck. There should be a nice, you know, see-through blue cordial looking liquid, but this was dark, darker than ever. So once we fully flushed all the fluid out by pumping the brake and clutch pedals, we moved on to the oils. First we changed the gearbox oil. As you can see, it's quite gunky, with bits of metal fragments flaking off. Gave it a squirt and cleaned it up. Then we changed the diff oil. Now it's time to upgrade the brakes. I've got some new slotted rotors here, and some new pads to chuck in. So I took the wheels off. Wait up. Before we get into the brakes, I want to test out the big fuck off new shoes, you know what I'm saying? They're pretty huge. Ignore the colour, that is temporary. The fronts are 19 by 10s plus 35, and the rears are 19 by 11 inches plus 16. They're fat boys. Yeah, these are going to be a challenge to fit. They're sticking out like 40 or 50 mil, and a big part of me wants to wide body it, and then another part of me might cry. You know, seeing a straight 33 Skyline get the fenders cut. Anyways, that's a problem for future Ben. Back to the brakes. Alright, we took off the brake calipers and the old rusty rotors. Gave the calipers a good clean. Whacked in the new brake pads. Then put on the new rotors and attached the brake calipers all back together. Much better. Next up is steering, replacing the tie rod ends. Look how munted they are. Here's the new ones we whacked on. Better. That's it. We're getting there. Now to fit the front bar back on. But first, since it has a new intercooler, we've got to modify the indicator slightly so it all fits. So I cut a bit of the plastic off, and on she went, along with the front grille. Moving on to the boot now, we replaced the gas struts. Much better. Chris then fabricated the blast pipes. Man, that shit was hot, and I'm not talking about the blast pipes. While Chris worked on that, I worked on the rear bumper issue. The plastic is slightly sagging down, causing it to rub on the hot exhaust pipe. So I got the heat gun out and worked on the rear bumper. Heating up the plastic, then manipulating it into a better shape. Quickly following up with spraying some water on it to cool it down, setting it in its new shape. Yeah, got it slightly better. The Blasty's finished crafting. First we positioned it, then Chris welded on the stainless exhaust hangers. The exhaust is pretty well complete, it just needs a slight adjustment as they're not exactly level, but that's for another day. For now, it works. Now if I want to snap some fucking gears, I'm gonna have to get on the gear. Nah, but I'm gonna have to install a short shifter kit. First we gotta take off the old bits and bobs and replace them. Now to replace the shifter spring with the stiffer spring set. Oh, it's pretty tough. Felt good, so we put everything back together. The short shifter kit was installed, and eventually we got most of the interior back together. Ignore all the styling and colours, they're all going to change in the future. Now it's finally time to bed those new brakes in. So, we chucked on the stockies, sprayed some brake cleaner, took her off the jacks, and equipped the retard strap. It's time to head out. to bed the brakes in, we sped up to 60 kilometers, then hit the brakes fairly hard. Did that a few times.
Hard. Don't stop. Okay, good. That's it.
Yep. Then repeated the same thing at 80 kilometers. Then 100 kilometers.
That was nice. Yeah.
All done. And you know, it was feeling really good. You can really feel the difference after doing all that. It feels nice and sensitive. Now if you can't tell, hasn't been clean for a while. 2 years. It's time to give the dirty old mutt a clean. Oh hell yeah. It's been a while since I've seen it that clean, so it was quite refreshing to say the least. So that was about it. It was a pretty awesome experience learning to do a complete service for my Skyline. Once you break it down and do it, it's actually not that hard. It's just overwhelming at first. Anyways, the 33 was finally ready to hit the streets, back into town, for its final goddamn tune. This is gonna be a big one.
We're in love, that's just the drugs. Don't they make you feel numb?
Oh mate, if you want to watch another video, this one on the screen. It's a, I don't know, just, you probably, just fucking watch it.
Not a
Mechanic. Wait, shut up cunt.